Hello y'all! Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Priscilla. I am a Seattle-based flight attendant working with a major US airline company, and in today's video I will be reacting to my April 2024 schedule. I do have some good news to share, y'all, so keep watching the video and stay tuned. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and tap on that subscribe button real quickly and give the video a thumbs up and share your thoughts on today's video in the comment section below. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the things that I bid for. As usual, I bid to avoid flight lead. We're not about to get into all that conversation because you already know, okay? You already know. If you don't know by now, then you probably should go back to my December or November flight attendant schedule reaction because it's all in there, okay? The story is in there. But I bid to avoid flight lead. I did bid for an 8-day start date, 8-day or reserve start date. So I bid that my reserve should start between the 1st of the month to the 7th of the month and nothing beyond that. I bid to avoid 4 legs per day. Legs are essentially the flight we work per day, and I bid that I should not receive any rotation that included me working 4 flights in a day. The other thing that I bid for, as usual, is to avoid domestic flights. The whole goal is that with the base where I'm at, our international, using the term international loosely, are high credit trips. So when I say avoid domestic trips, I'm inadvertently trying to tell the system that give me the highest credit trips as possible, preferably international trips. I'm too junior to hold it, but you never know. I also bid for high credit 3-day trips. I bid that all my 3-day trips should be 19 hours or more, nothing below that. And for 2-day trips, I bid that the credit should be, I believe, 12 hours and 30 minutes and above, nothing below that. And then for 1-day trips, I reduced that as well. Even with my 2-day trips, I reduced them as well because typically my 2-day trips were set at 14 and above. But this time around, I made it 12 hours and 30 minutes and below. And then for my 1-day trips, I also reduced it from 9 to 7. So that all what I'm trying to ask is that if you're going to give me a 1-day trip, make sure it's 7 hours or more. If you're going to give me a 2-day trips, make sure it's 2 hours, 12 hours and 30 minutes or more. And for 3-day trips, 19 hours or more. That's all that I was trying to say with regards to the high credit trips that I was asking for. Then I proceeded to bid for specific rotations as well. As I mentioned in my March schedule reaction video, as a new flight attendant, this is the time for you to start reviewing your bid package and taking note of things, understanding how to read it and asking all the questions you have, because when you get to the point when you can't hold the things that you want to make sure that you know how to use your resources. And this is the time to learn how to use your resources or even access your resources as well. So keep that in mind. So in the bid package has all the rotation or all the trips that we're going to be working for the month coming. Once I reviewed it, I noticed specific rotation numbers and I went into our system to request for those rotation numbers as well. Another additional thing that I added this month that I did not do in previous months was request for carry out. So sometimes when schedules are released, you will be scheduled a trip that part of that trip is entering the month coming. The advantage of that is that it adds credit or hours to the month coming. So if I have a trip on, let's say, March 31st and it's a 2-day trip, which means it's from March 31st to April 1st. Since the bid period for April starts from April 1st, it means that this trip that I have at the end of the month, which is worth 12 hours, 6 hours out of that trip is going to fall into the bid period of April. The advantage of that, once again, is that when I'm bidding for my April schedule, or if I'm being assigned trips for my April schedule, the system will consider that 6 hours as me already being scheduled. So that's gonna impact how many hours or trips that I get assigned. But I say all this to say that this time around, I did bid for that. I asked that I be assigned a trip that allows me to carry out 6 hours into the month coming, which is going to be May in this case because I'm reacting to my April schedule. I didn't really request for this, but I just waived one of my rules, which is the 3 and 9 rule, which means for every 9 days of work, I should get 3 days off. I believe that's what that means. I've already explained this in one of my videos, so please check it out. Also, before I move forward, I do have a full playlist of all my schedule reaction videos ever since I became a flight attendant last year in March in the description box below. So please check it out. I did get on the line in May, so that's when the schedule reactions will start. The last thing that I bid for, and y'all, this has been the bane of my existence, and I am never, I repeat, I am never ever doing this again, okay? Unless I get to the point where I can hold the trips that I want. I know I come to you all experimenting things, like I try to do different things every month just to see what works and what doesn't. So no hard feelings there, because we're here to explore and see what works and what doesn't. However, this is one of the things that I will not be trying ever again, okay? I did bid for high flight time in April. Our schedule value was set at 79 hours. I believe it was 79 hours, plus or minus a variance of 6 hours. I'm not sure, yo, don't judge me. I didn't look at the numbers because I don't really care at this point. But what that means is that the maximum amount of hours you can be scheduled for is 79 hours plus the variance of 6 hours. So that's what 85 hours. And then the minimum you can potentially be scheduled for is 79 hours minus the variance, which is 6 hours, which brings it to 73 hours. So you can get the in-between as well. So that's what that means. But you can go in and ask for more hours, and the maximum amount of flight time you can ask for is up to 95 hours in our system. So technically, the maximum amount of hours the airline can schedule you for, it's 95 hours, which is still plus or minus the variance we're talking about. However, based on operational needs, the system sets a schedule value that it's willing to give everybody, which is the 79 plus or minus the variance. Assuming you wanted to max out, you wanted to tell the company, hey, give me the maximum amount of hours you can give me when you're assigning everybody their schedule. It's either going to be the maximum, which is 105, which is 95, which is what you asked for, plus the variance of 6 hours, or the minimum, which is going to be 95 minus 6 hours, okay? If you were asking for the ultimate most, like the highest, okay? However, like I said, the system or operational needs always sets a schedule value that it's willing to give everybody across board. So assuming you don't ask for any amount of hours, all you ask for are specific trips, blah, 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 your days off and all those things, the amount of hours that you're potentially going to be assigned would be 79 hours plus or minus 6 hours. However, if you want more hours, you can ask for it, and the maximum you can ask for is 95. But there's a caveat, which is the variance. So it might go up to 101 hours, or you might only end up getting the 86 hours because it's going to be 95 minus 6. 89 hours, I mean. So now that we've established that, let me go into what I bid for. I bid for the maximum, which is 95 hours. So essentially, I wanted to see how many trips I could get assigned, or how my rotation was going to look if I asked for 95 hours. I know there have been people that have been asking me in the comment section, like, what's the maximum number of hours you can work? What's the maximum number of hours you can do? There aren't any maximum number of hours that you can work, in the sense that you can fill up your schedule up to however many trips that you're legally able to work. Legally able to work in the sense that you are required to have some amount of rest. So although you are able to pick up trips, if you're picking up trips such that it's not legally giving you rest time, then the system won't let you pick it. But you can honestly work as much as you want, as long as legally you're getting the rest, or the rest in between your trips or meet the legal requirement, essentially. So there's no cap like, oh, you can only do 100 hours a month or something. No. However, when schedules are being released, there is a maximum amount of hours that you can ask for. Operational needs might set it at 79. The maximum you can tell the system to schedule you is 95, period. Remember the variance though. All right. I did try a lot of things this month that I had not tried in the previous months. So let's see what I was assigned. Right when schedules were released, y'all, as you will see on the screen, I got assigned 5 trips. And the 2 things that you do see marked on the screen on the 16th and the 17th are my 1-year anniversary work-related event. And I did do a 1-year anniversary live, so if you haven't checked it out, please go ahead and check it out, y'all. Go and check it out. Honestly, my initial reaction to my schedule, I was disappointed. It was trash. But one thing you would notice is that you don't see any reserve on my calendar, do you? Do you see any reserve on my calendar? Tell me what you see. Let's give it a moment. Do you see any reserve on my calendar, y'all? No, you do not. No, you do not. There's more to it, but for now, let's enjoy the moment. I am off of reserve. 8 days where? I'm sorry, you're talking to the wrong person. Come again. Get somebody else to do it, not me. Not me being dramatic. Even though I did request for a reserved start date, the only time that bid applies or that request applies is if I get assigned reserve. So if I'm not even going to get assigned reserve, then that request or that A-day or that reserved start date bid that I made is null and void. So keep that in mind. Sometimes don't be afraid to try things, because if you're not entitled to those things, it won't give you at all. It will just cancel out that request that you're making. So please keep it in mind. Even if you think you're going to be off of reserve the month coming, still bid for your reserve start date. Just in case something happens and you do get assigned, you're covered. So I got a trip on April 2nd to April 4th, and then I got a turn, I think it was a red-eye turn, yes, Anchorage red-eye turn on the 7th to the 8th. Then I got a long layover. This layover was so long, I was like, I'm not ready for this. If it's not going international, get somebody else to do it, y'all. On the 12th to the 14th, and then I have the 2 work-related events on the 16th and the 17th, and then I had another 3-day trip on the 20th to the 22nd, and which was a very long, I believe, Nashville layover as well. And I'm talking about the layovers because I got out of all these trips, y'all, so that's why. And then the last trip that I got assigned actually starts around midnight of the 24th of April all the way to the 27th of April, and it was MSP and a Billings layover. The Billings layover was super long too. But as I've said in the past, I don't really enjoy domestic long layovers. Once I go, when I'm working domestic trips, the maximum amount of layover I'm willing to compromise or take is 20 hours. Anything beyond that is too much. Anything beyond that, I'm out. Unless I really want to do like touristy stuff in that city, then I might want more. But for now, and even the cities that I got the layovers at, I don't know them. I would want to know or explore them, but I'm not in that phase right now. Right now, I'm not. I was not down for it. Let's just keep it that way, y'all. So I got rid of all these trips. I swapped out of all these trips. Like, I did whatever I could to get out of these trips, and I did. I have heard that a lot of people that got off of reserve, typically the trips that they got assigned that month, they never get anything that they asked for. They're like, the system is literally like, okay, you're off of reserve, right? Okay, so you get all the trashy trips essentially. That's how I felt, okay? But no hard feelings, because we have the ability to swap and get out of trips, so it's no big deal. And what you think you might not like, somebody might love and want. So there's still hope for that. But my schedule value as of the time when schedules were released, the total amount of hours was 81 hours and 42 minutes. And the monetary value for me during that period for this entire rotation that you see when schedules were released was $4,244.44. Remember that the 2 workday events that I do have, I am getting paid for it. But this is what I started with, y'all. This is what I got when schedules were released. So after swapping and moving things around, this is where we are. However, I'm at the point where for April, I just want to get rid of everything and just pick up as I go. That's the vibe we're in for April right now, okay? That's the mood I'm in right now. So after moving things around, as you would see on the screen, I ended up with a 3-day trip on the 4th of April to the 6th of April. And then I have a 2-day trip from the 7th to the 8th. Then I get 2 days off, and then I have a 2-day trip again on the 11th to the 12th, followed by the 2 work-related events, which are still sitting at the same place. I can't move that. I can't change that. And then I have another 3-day trip on the 20th to the 22nd. And then I have a 2-day trip on the 24th to the 25th. The hourly value of the trip that I have on the 4th is 18 hours and 14 minutes. And the monetary value for that is $831.32. And then I have a 2-day trip on the 7th that starts on the 7th is worth $484.66. And then the other 2-day trip I have on the 11th is worth $511.28. Plus I have the work-related event, $290 for the first day, $230 for the second day, and then the 3-day trip that I have on the 20th is worth $780.02, and then the 2-day trip I have started on the 24th is worth $598.33, y'all. So once I did the swap and drop a few things here and there, I ended up with 79 hours and 21 minutes with a monetary value of $4,051.09. cents. So I'm still within the $4,000 range. So this is where we're sitting at. My days off though will be 16 days off. So that's where we are for the rest of the month. Like I've said 1,001 times in this video, I don't plan on keeping these trips. If push comes to shove, I'll just work them anyway. I do want to get out of the 3-day trips that I have. Like I said last month, I've not really been in the mood to work 3-day trips anymore. I'm more so leaning more towards 2-day trips. I'm not even really feeling turns or 1-day trips at the moment, but I will take that over a 3-day trip. Final thoughts. Yes, I know I am off of reserve. I am off of reserve. It feels good. What are my thoughts on that? It actually feels good not being on reserve. I think mainly because when you're picking up trips around your reserve, it's usually harder because of when it starts and when it ends. It starts at 12 midnight and ends at 12 midnight on your last day. So whatever trip you can pick up needs to give you the legal rest that you need in between. So it's always very difficult and it's always hard to move it around because you can't swap with the system compared to trips where you can swap with the system or swap with other flight attendants. But not having reserve, one thing I did notice that it was very easy for me to swap out my trips and move things around. Like I swapped out of my trips like 1,000 times. If anybody's tracking my calendar, I have been, ever since schedules were released on the 16th of March, I have been swapping and moving my trips around so much that I'm even getting dizzy, okay? So that's a flexibility that not being on reserve gives you, which is amazing. And then the other thing also to note is that being on reserve is based on operational needs. So just because I'm off of reserve now does not mean that I'm going to stay on reserve. The only time you have that level of security is when you're super senior. So if you're like 50% or more or below, I'm at 80%. And this time around, only 20% of the people at my base were required to be on reserve. So I was literally like at the tip of it, like at the tip of it. The slightest shift and I would have been on reserve, okay? That's how close I was to the line. Like I was saying, unless you're like super senior where you're like 50% or even 70%, then you're safe. But anything above that, it's more so it's a hit or miss. So it's either you're going to be or you're not. But the sense of security is more so for people who are at 50% or below, you know? That's the thing. So it's not fixed. I might be on reserve back again during the summer. However, I feel like with the way things used to be in the past, things are a little bit different now because we're really, really well staffed, if not overstaffed at the moment. So it might continue. But then again, during the summer, we do get a lot more flying, a lot more things happen. So coverage will be needed. So there is a higher percentage that the need for reserve would increase from 20% to 30%, which will then put me back on reserve. But when you do happen to be off of reserve, enjoy the moment. One thing I want everybody to notice that everything that we do request for when we're bidding for a schedule is tentative. It's not fixed. Just because you ask for something doesn't mean you're going to get it. So keep that in mind. And if you don't get it, don't be disappointed. Oh, one thing that I did forget to talk about is that after my 1-year anniversary, my hourly pay rate went up from $33 to $35 for hitting my 1-year anniversary. So see you on my next one. Once again, I do have a full playlist in the description box with my schedule reactions. So please check them out. Share your thoughts on today's video in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.